David's Saturday AI Thoughts, Episode 23, 25th of July 2026, Burned and Earned. A reader wrote in with a fair question. What is the environmental cost of all this? The energy, the water, the lot? My first instinct was to reassure. The numbers are small. One prompt to a language model uses about as much energy as 9 seconds of television, a quarter of a watt-hour, and about 5 drops of water. Tiny. I nearly wrote that, pressed send, and moved on. Then I realized it was only half the story. The environmental cost of using AI isn't the cost of the model. It's the cost of the model minus the cost of whatever would otherwise have done the work. The quarter of a watt-hour is what the machine burned. It is 1/2 of a subtraction, and on its own, it tells you nothing. The other half is what the machine saved, and that is the half that counts. Start with the cost. I think of AI in 3 generations, each working at a different scale. Chat handles a prompt. Agents handle a task. The model plans, searches, writes, and checks. All-day AI handles a day's work, something like Claude Tag, which watches a team's channels and picks up jobs you hand it. Rather than guess what each costs, I built a small model that counts the tokens a realistic run gets through and turns them into energy, carbon, water, money, and human time. The full workings are on my website, so you can follow the maths or argue with it. What it found in a unit anyone can hold, how long someone would have to sit at a laptop to use the same power. A prompt costs under a penny and about 12 seconds of that. A task costs about £1.50. A whole day of all-day AI costs a few pounds, draws about 250 watt-hours, roughly 2 kettle boils, and drinks about a mugful of water. That measure is the one worth carrying, but it is only the floor. What a task actually replaces is not the 50 minutes of energy it costs, but the hours of expert work it stands in for. Meter, an evaluation lab, measures how long a job an agent can finish with even odds of success, using the time an expert would need as the yardstick. That length has doubled roughly every 7 months for 6 years, and by mid-2026 the strongest public models were clearing jobs that would take an expert around 2 full working days. The energy is the low bar. The work is the high one. The gap between them runs to 10 times over, often much more. You clear the low bar without trying. You would have to work at losing. So the rule is short. If a run replaced real work, you came out ahead, usually by a wide margin. If it replaced nothing, you spent the energy and got no saving back. That is a real cost, and probably where most of the AI cost sits. It is not a scandal, though. It is a decision. You hire people, sign contractors, and hand out work, weighing the cost against what the work is worth. A pointless AI task is a firm paying for something nobody needed, which happens everywhere, every week. What is new is that the machine's version is cheap enough to wave through without weighing at all. I was asked about this over lunch this week after a talk to a technology team. The honest answer, if a question is worth asking me at all, the cost of the machine helping me answer it is a fraction of the cost of me answering it alone, in money and in energy. The can of drink in my hand was probably more environmentally destructive than all the AI I would run that day, and the meat in the sandwich I just finished certainly was. Perhaps I should have had the vegetarian option. The waste that matters is the report that sits on a desk and achieves nothing. Most do, not really an AI problem. Scale that up, and you have a frightening global total, though. Much of the machine's rising footprint isn't replacing work a person used to do, it's work no person was ever going to do. This is the Jevons paradox. Cheaper never means less. Data centers use 1.5% of the world's electricity today, and AI is about 1/3 of that, 0.5% of the world's total. That total is set to roughly double by 2030. Even as the energy per task collapses. Google cut the energy of its median prompt 33-fold in a year. Each unit gets cheaper, we run far more units, and the total climbs anyway. It is how I have long thought about climate change. Be alarmed by the big, long-term picture and work to fix it. Then fly to New York, when the trip is worth it, knowing the flight is part of the problem. Both are true at once, not one or the other. AI is the same. Use it, and also worry about where the total is going. So the watt hours per query figure, the one everyone argues over, was only ever half of a subtraction. Sometimes there's a human on the other side, and the machine wins by a distance. Sometimes there's nobody there, and the whole cost is a bet that the work was worth doing. Either way, the query was never the thing to count. What it earned always was.
Here are 3 things worth knowing this week. Number 1. Half of everything uploaded to Deezer each day is now made by a machine. Deezer, the music streaming service, says machine-made tracks now make up more than half of all new uploads, about 90,000 of them a day. When a machine can produce half of everything a platform receives in a day, the scarce thing stops being the music. It becomes the curation, the attention, and the proof a person made it. The platform's value sits in filtering the flood, not hosting it. Number 2. Beijing wants to stop its models leaving. Washington wants to stop them arriving. On the same day, 2 governments moved to restrict the same models from opposite directions. The Trump administration is weighing 3 moves: liability rules for firms that host Chinese models, a public security warning, and a trade blacklist. The trigger was Kimi K3, a powerful open model from Moonshot, a Chinese lab. Beijing, meanwhile, is consulting its own firms on tighter export controls to stop the West acquiring its advanced models, chips, and startups. Open models are now a strategic export for the country publishing them and a strategic import for the country adopting them. For anyone weighing a build versus buy call on a Chinese model, the risk isn't the model. It's that 2 governments are deciding whether you get to keep using it. Number 3. AI toppled a 30-year maths conjecture. Who gets the credit? A wave of AI maths results broke this week. GPT 5.6 Pro produced a counterexample to the Dinitz, Garg and Goemans conjecture. And one person, working through Codex, solved 6 open Erdős problems in 5 days and says the method needs no deep maths background. Ethan Mollick, a Wharton professor who writes about AI at work, asked who owns the achievement when 58 words of prompting solve a problem: the person or the model. Daniel Litt, a mathematician, believes a burst of quick wins on long-ignored problems says more about how many easy problems were left lying around than about a machine outthinking the field. Both are right, and the question travels well beyond maths. The same argument about credit is coming for anyone whose work a model can now finish.
Three things to try. Number 1, get most of the way with AI, then pay the expert only for the last mile. I had a business question this week with real money riding on it, and my advisor's time runs to £375 an hour. Rather than book the whole job, I worked it through with Claude for about half an hour, going back and forth, then sent my advisor the answer I'd reached. They replied that I was mostly there and just wanted a quick call on the final points. Arriving most of the way changes what you are paying for, the judgment and the sign-off, not the spade work. Number 2, give your own AI everything I've written, then ask it for your next AI paper. Every essay, news item and tip from all 23 editions so far lives on my website, and each page has a button that copies everything, formatted for a model to read. Paste it into a project or a chat. Then, the next time you need an AI strategy paper, a board note or a weekly update, you are not starting cold. You have arguments, numbers and examples to draw on. Or skip the paste entirely and ask the chatbot on my website. It has read the lot. Number 3. On Friday, have the model mark your own week's AI usage. Ask the model you use most to look back over your chats and tell you 3 things: what you leaned on, what you never touched, and what to try next. Someone I work with does exactly this every Friday. Most of us settle into a few habits without noticing. This breaks the rut.
What readers said. Last week I shared your futures and fears and admitted I'd stop trying to reconcile the excitement with the dread. The sharpest reply asked who the standard advice is really for. A reader thinking about the millions already struggling economically said that telling people to take charge of their AI future is an impossible ask. Who, they wrote, can outrun this thing? One reader who shares the fear and the wonder turned to education. Shorten it. Give young people time to experiment with this technology rather than pumping cookie-cutter graduates into a toxic job market. A reader deep in the numbers struck the brightest note. From their own foxhole, the data is making them more optimistic about job creation and productivity.
I've also been reading what readers post on LinkedIn. This week, they were less interested in what the models can do than in who is in charge, whose judgment we are trusting, and whether the build-out actually gets delivered. Nigel Shardlow, an independent consultant who works on agent-based simulation, went to find Thomas Hobbes's grave and came back with 3 questions to put to any AI agent. By whose authority does it act? What do we get in return? And is the trade worth it? Rahim Hirji, a keynote speaker and the author of Super Skills, names who holds power as intelligence gets cheap. The judgment class, the people trusted to know which of the machine's outputs to believe. And Akash Gandhi, a partner at LEK Consulting, warns that data center megawatts on contract are a long way from megawatts actually running.
And that's it for David's Saturday AI Thoughts this week. This is a faithful reading of the email edition. The full written version, with all the links and sources, plus 6 bits that didn't fit, full reader letters, and full community voices, is at stedman.ai. Thanks for listening.